So with that, I think we go into the cricket, and I'm going to throw it to you in a minute, Peps. But we talked it up, and unfortunately, we've been blue balls like any man in a marriage will know about.
Doesn't have to be just a marriage.
Run us through what happened with India versus England, Peppy.
Yeah, well, 2 hours before the scheduled start of play in the 5th test, and the match got abandoned, it seems at the moment, although we'll get into the exact nitty-gritty of that in just a sec, due to some COVID concerns. Apparently there was a Ravi Shastri book launch a few days beforehand, and a lot of the players had attended that. And it turns out a physio and another staff member picked up the dreaded cocoa, those dirty physios, just going around, getting their mitts on everyone. And the Indians were a little bit concerned that this might have been transmitted amongst the team. And it went to the final hour, the 9th hour, and they pulled the pin. So a really disappointing finish to what was shaping up to be an excellent 5th test. Now, the question remains, is it a forfeit for India or is it a match abandoned? We're not quite sure. There's a lot of sort of things to do financially and with insurance that I don't quite understand right now. But essentially, it's the BCCI and the ECB arguing over who's at fault here. We don't quite have an answer just yet. So as it stands, it's an abandoned game with India winning the series 2-1. But that's not official yet with an ongoing investigation. And, there is some talk that maybe they might even push this decider back to 2022. India is meant to be over there for a white ball series. And yeah, we'll sort it out from there. And I need to turn that that notification off just as we go through there. But yeah, very, very unusual circumstances in this world that we live in.
Yeah, well, we just mentioned NFL before, and they've kind of got the rule that if your team gets the COVID and then causes a match to be missed, then you have forfeited. So in this case, you could say that India had forfeited, and then potentially it's a drawn series. It'd be interesting to see what happens here. And there was also the worry that you got your big Indian stars, and the IPL is going to kick off this weekend. And if they're going to come back and be a part of that, hey, you don't want them then spraying into the IPL, and the IPL gets missed out again. So I can see what big concerns from the BCCI, but we've got a packed schedule now for the rest of the year, essentially for India and England. You're not going to fit in any room there to fit in another test for these guys. So yeah, looking likely if they're going to complete this series, it'll be next year, or they'll make some decision, and yeah, we'll get some unfortunate, unsatisfying result.
Yeah, look, it's not that much of a stretch to be a conspiracy, is it? With the big money in the IPL and the Indian, cricket board just saying, well, look, we've got a close contact in a physio, as close a contact as you can get, I guess, and saying, we need to look after the players and the fact that the IPL is coming up. So whether or not that had something to do with it, who knows? But a really disappointing finish to what had been an excellent series.
Yep.
Anticlimactic, if you will.
Yes, definitely.
Very much so, yeah.
It does provide an excellent segue for us, though, because the IPL does resume on this weekend. So speaking of which,
Sunday comes back. It seems like forever, since we were talking about the Indian Premier League. I was just thinking, boys, maybe we just all need to go for the Delhi Capitals. We all picked teams before the series started, but the Delhi Capitals reached out, and we're lucky to talk to some people from them. But it seems like it's going to be those top teams in RCB, Delhi Capitals going at it. Who can push them? Mumbai Indians always very strong. Outside of them, you probably don't see anyone winning it. But we also do talk about the depth of the Indian Premier League. On their night, any team can win.
I interested to get your thoughts, Peps, because also I think it's been 4 months, 5 months maybe since.
Since about early April, was it?
Yeah, early April, just into May.
That's it, right.
Yeah, that was put on hold. So we are restarting it. Of all the international players coming back?
No, not all the international players are coming back. A lot are, but not everyone. To be honest, I've been so enthralled, with the NFL starting and the footy finals over here in Australia, and having to do a little bit of physio study myself, that I haven't really got up to speed with all the ins and outs of who is coming back. But look, we've got games happening on Sunday, so we'll be able to check those squads and see who is returning. The bulk of the big name guys are going back, and let me tell you this: if you're on $2 million, you're probably more likely to go finish your contract than a guy that was on $100,000.
So you're saying Steve Smith might not be going back?
I'm just speculating that possibly the number of zeros at the end of the contract is correlated with you returning to the competition. It's just speculation.
So my point was going to be with the restart of the series and with potentially missing of core guys within teams, that it could be a whole new season. Like the teams that had been doing really well might just fall off. Well, like we said, India's depth for players in cricket. They can definitely find good quality to fill in for those guys that potentially could miss. So you'd think with the teams they've got, maybe the status quo stays the same. Maybe it changes up a little bit. It'd be interesting to see. That's why we're interested to watch how those games when they kick off.
Yeah, for sure. And we often get fixated with the big international players. Obviously, you can only have a certain amount in your team in the IPL, but you can't take away from the India depth. And we've seen guys like a Surya Kumar Yadav or a Sanju Samson, for example, guys that have barely even played for India that are just staples in the IPL. So you can't take away from the depth of the Indian talent pool. But looking forward to it getting back underway. It's more cricket, baby. So let's go.
And to finish off Indian cricket news, I think Kohli today actually came out and said after the T20 World Cup, he's going to stand down from being the captain. I'm not sure if he's going to still play in the side, but the idea being he's trying to reset his focus. He's family man now. And travel, etc. The requirement for him as captain, is draining, especially across all three formats. So potentially stepping down from that. I think he probably still plays in the side, but with less emphasis on having to do all the media, having to do all the team stuff. He can just be there as a player, as a batsman.
Yeah, rumours are that Rohit Sharma will take the captaincy. That's not official, but it's just what's being speculated. It is a little unusual, I thought, given that Virat is one of the best T20 players of all time, one of the few guys that averages 50 in T20 cricket, which is pretty hard to wrap your mind around. But we like to harp on it. On the Esky, doesn't have an international ton for close to 2 years, and maybe is wanting to put his focus back into Test cricket and the ODI World Cup that'll be coming up, in a couple of years. And look, we always speak about the depth of India, especially in white ball cricket. Even if he does step away full time, obviously it's a big loss. But you've just got 5 blokes that would be putting their hand up to take a top order role there that would be able to step in. But massive news.
Yeah. I think early reports are that he said he will still continue to be available for selection. But yeah, I suppose that's all just short-term sort of stuff. I don't know what the long-term plan would be.
And you often see that trajectory, when he's not that old, but when guys start wrapping up towards the end of their career, they tend to step away from the T20 internationals first, and then the ODIs, and then the tests, and then right at the very end, they tend to go away from the big money tournaments, the T20 IPL or Big Bash down here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pepe, What's happening elsewhere in the cricket world? What are the Saffers up to?
The Saffers destroyed Sri Lanka. We have spoken a bit about it this year. The Sri Lankans actually had them in the ODIs, which was good to see. But they didn't offer much here, and it was all Quinton de Kock, one of my favourite cricketers, probably right up there with Niroshan Dick Weller, in terms of the appeal on their name, at least. He was unreal in this series. He only got dismissed once. He 50s and I think a high 30. So he was steering the Saffers with the bat. And it's a really challenging time for Sri Lankan cricket. We have mentioned in the World Cup coming up, they do have to play a few minnow nations just to get into the regular games. I fancy them to do that in the World Cup, but not much more than that. Hard times to be a Sri Lankan cricket fan. I think that the best look. It's sad news in the fact that it's an injury and it's quite serious for Australian Test captain Tim Payne. He had to have surgery on a bulging disc in his neck. But it did spawn one of the funniest videos to come out of this week with ABC newsreader Tony Armstrong. Unfortunately, a little Freudian slip. He had something else on his mind, and he spoke about Tim Payne's bulging dick, and that's been doing the rounds. Quite funny. He realised straight away, which was good, and wore it. Did. And then Tim Payne coming back on Twitter and saying, true story, actually. So I don't know what to make of that. Tim Payne's claiming that his dick is bulging.
Yeah, well, he was probably looking forward to that India versus England game as well and just didn't get a finish. So, yeah.
Maybe. Watch out, Mrs. Payne, because apparently Tim's got a big bulger just waiting to go. But in all seriousness, and if you haven't seen that, check that out. Just type in ABC newsreader Tim Payne. It's quite funny. But in all seriousness, this is big surgery. Bulging discs are nothing to laugh about unless it's a bulging dick. And it does make you wonder, with the Ashes only 3 months away, how will he recover from this? And could Cricket Australia be going, oh, wait, this is a perfect opportunity to say, thank you, Tim. Thank you for your service after Sandpaper Gate and getting us through this rough time. We appreciate your services, but we're going with someone else. I wonder how it pans out. A lot of it will be based on his recovery, but it just the mind tends to wonder and think, oh, could this be the last we see of Tim Payne?
So, yeah, I think as you mentioned, it probably depends on what the surgery is, whether it's just relief or, worst case, fusing of discs. You wouldn't have think that for him at that age, but you never know. Chronic injury of some description. I think the timing's kind of interesting as well, because I don't think he's played cricket in many months. So whether he's starting to
level, that's for sure.
Yeah, so why this wasn't done a while ago, trying to give him extra prep. So 3 months are still, 12 weeks away, still plenty of time recovery-wise. You'd think to get into getting ready for the Ashes, but like you say, he is definitely getting older. He is on the hot seat a little bit, depending on what happens in those Ashes series. But yeah, like you say, short lease, could be on the move. They got Paddy Cummins waiting in the wings, if not Stephen Smith. Or my favourite, the loose bus change. They've got some options as a potential replacement as a captain if Tim Payne does get shafted.
Shafted. Well, I was going down that same stupid, that same trajectory and thinking I'm big fans of all of those cricketers and wouldn't mind seeing their bulging dicks either coming back and being the Australian Test captain. But all seriousness, wishing Tim Payne all the best with his recovery. And yeah, it does throw a bit of a can of worms into the mix into who will be the Australian Test captain come the first Test of the Ashes.
Yep, definitely. Yep. Well, I just got to hear that heading into, I guess, the surgery and all that sort of stuff, Tim Payne talked to Matt Rogers, who had a similar sort of surgery in his playing career. Apparently, Rogers was back playing in the NRL after 6 weeks of the surgery for very similar issues. So,
and
time
playing
frames there.
contact sport, high impact. So maybe we're looking into this a little bit too much, and it's only 6 to 8 weeks, and Tim Payne's ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. It could just be a cleanup. They're just going in there, relieve some pressure, clean it up, and then away they go. And
3 orthopedic surgeons here in our wisdom, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. On the medical advice with On The Esky, it's probably better than some of the stuff that you Google medical advice. At least ours don't always end in cancer. I think that's enough talking about bulging dicks. Let's